Rebels, and welcome back to my life. Today I took a little trip, went to some places, and had some thoughts. It all started when I took my car to get an oil change. I set off down the freeway, cruising, blasting loud music, and singing along, which I'm sorry for.
I can't escape this now, unless you show me how.
After I dropped off the car, I went to the Glendale Galleria, where a surprising number of people were waiting for the Disney store to open. Then I went to Target on a quest to find some unscented hand soap. It was surprisingly difficult.
Scented. Unscented. Hallelujah, go 7th generation.
Then I went out to the Americana, where everything's so beautiful it's almost ridiculous, and everything's so overpriced it definitely is ridiculous. Normally when I'm hanging out in Glendale, I'll just go to Barnes & Noble, find a good book, and sit with some coffee while I'm waiting for whatever I'm waiting for. But then I had a sudden thought. I'm an independent author. I should go support an independent bookstore.
I am going to an independent bookstore and skipping out on Barnes & Noble. However, I am not willing to compromise on my coffee.
So my conclusion for the day is that I don't spend enough time just walking around doing stuff. And that's all I've been doing for the last, almost an hour, and it feels really good.
And there I was at last, Brand Books, a store that I'd no doubt seen dozens or hundreds of times over the years but had never gone into. First thing I saw when I walked inside was a copy of the first edition of Blade of the Immortal, my favorite manga series of all time. I hadn't seen one in 8 years since I lost mine. Then I walked in to find their sci-fi and fantasy section, which you can see here and here. It was really, really big.
Something frightens me, and it's the fact that probably at least, let's just be generous and say that at least 10% of these books are probably really, really good, and I will never read them. It's frightening. It's a little bit sad. I mean, I don't think I'm alone in that I've read books, several books, many books even, that have utterly changed my life, made me think about the world in a different way. And what if a book just like that is sitting on the shelf right behind me right now, and I never see it? It never catches my eye. Nobody ever recommends it to me. It's sad. And of course, it's easy to say that, books like that will, always, rise to the top and, be recommended to you by other people who like good books. But that's not necessarily true. I mean, Johnny B. Truant's book, To Be All He Pimps, absolutely resolved situations and questions that I'd had about fame and infamy and, what was right and what was wrong in the consumer-producer relationship. And it's probably his worst-selling title. I only happened to hear about it because somebody told me about his podcast. And nobody else who I know that has read it was affected by it as deeply as I was. Even Johnny. I guess what I'm trying to say is that different books will do different things to different people, and there are right books for everyone that might not necessarily be the right books for everyone. You might be utterly affected by some book that you'll never ever hear about. You couldn't possibly read everything that is published or is going to be published. It's impossible. Too much stuff is put out all the time.
It's starting to get a little overwhelming and depressing. And I think I need to stop thinking about this.
Hey, I have an idea. Let's make fun of book covers together.
Ah, papyrus. Don't ever change. Why are people so obsessed with papyrus? I mean, how could you say no to this book cover? How could you possibly say no?
Yes, it's called Elven Dude. Cool title. Pretty cool cover. But dude, change your name.
I think I'd like to do something when my kids are old enough to do this. I'd like to bring them here and let them pick any book off the shelf that they want, any book at all. And as soon as they finish it, I will bring them right back here and pick another one. And when Luke's old enough to join in, they will both have to have finished their books before I bring them back, which will create some hilarious situations where one of them has finished and the other one hasn't, and the first one's like, "What are you doing? Read! Keep reading!"
All in all, I was very glad I took this adventure today, and even more glad that I videoed it so I could bring it home and share it with you. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!